For a long time, I did not understand the hype behind Golden Sun. How was it that this GBA game, which I had never seen discussion for that was about anything within the game itself, from a developer I had never heard of, was so acclaimed that Isaac was a consistently high-ranking request for Super Smash Bros. For a long time, too! He was a planned character for Project M, somewhere between builds 2.6 and 3.0 July to December of 2013. There were very early versions of him among the other added characters, though of course development on him and the other planned characters ceased once Nintendo got wind of the whole thing, with build 3.6 in August of 2015. And even after he was revealed as an assist trophy and Mii costume for Smash Ultimate, people still really wanted him. Posts with hypothetical movesets for him, and so many polls with Isaac getting a considerable amount of votes. Y'all, I am so sorry. I even considered saving this game for the future in case I ever had a larger audience or finally got to streaming regularly. There are very few games I can think of that have such a high status to be considered underrated and a hidden gem by so many people that I don't think it's a hidden gem anymore, ironically. I do wonder how many people know Isaac versus actually knowing Golden Sun. Even after trying the game out a couple of times though, nothing grabbed me. It didn't seem like anything I hadn't seen before, the main appeal of the combat doesn't even show up for a while, the first dungeon is not particularly interesting, another 10 hours of this? Well, yeah, actually. I mean, not another 10 hours of initial RPG slog, but enough hours for the game and characters to settle, take some time to leave everything surrounding that stormy night behind and finally venture out beyond what they and I had ever known about Golden Sun. Oh my god.
The game isn't just a veil!
Golden Sun takes its sweet time to get going. Sometimes characters go on for a while, especially at the beginning of the game, which was part of what killed it for me initially. Another RPG with a slow intro, oh god, I don't know if I can stick this out. In fact, I was zoned out. On my phone, not even gonna lie, while they were talking about the gravitas of the elemental stars and the Soul Sanctum, and shit, I don't know, volcano just erupted, the world's gonna end unless I do something about it, I guess. I don't know what possessed me to pick it up again, and coincidentally so close to its 20th anniversary, but I finally understand. I promise once you get out of there and out of Vale, everything goes up from there. The game continues to gradually introduce things to you, and it does have a lot going for it. Collecting Jin, gaining synergies from level up, and using said synergy to interact with and traverse the environment. Anytime I ever did try to look up what the appeal of Golden Sun was, all of that was exactly it, but a text post was not enough to tell me the intricacies of all the mechanics. Hell, I didn't even have my moment of realization of Golden Sun's potential until the Mercury Lighthouse. It finally dawned on me about 6 hours in that you can change your equipped Jin. Everyone online was right. The battle system is entirely where it's at. So here's the rundown. Hidden across Golden Sun's continent of Weyard are these creatures called Jin. They come in one of 4 elements: fire, water, wind, and earth. You can either put them on standby or set them to a character. Standby makes them into a summon. The more you have on standby, the more powerful a summon they will become. Summons also boost the elemental power of whatever Jinny was used for that character. After being summoned, they go to a cooldown before switching to set. Set Jin change your class, which changes your stats and what synergy or magic you can use. Anyone can equip any Jinny, even if it is not the element they're aligned with, and regardless of who has the Jinny equipped, anyone can summon any Jin. Every Jinny has an ability you can use when they are set, from reviving downed party members, to boosting stats, to unleashing powerful attacks. Using set Jin will likewise make them go to a cooldown before switching to standby. You can change if a Jinny is set or on standby mid-battle if you want to, but especially for bosses, you're going to want to have your setup ready to go. Golden Sun is not a difficult game, but damn if it isn't fun. I'll end up referring to this interview at least a couple more times in this video, but it is really telling about what makes Golden Sun work so well from a design standpoint. Director Shugo Takahashi and producer Hiroyuki Takahashi, in a 2001 Nintendo Dream magazine interview, talked about the development of Golden Sun after the first game was completed. And there's really no better way to explain than to quote the interview. The majority of RPGs have always used something like MP, right? Recently, spell effects and summons have become more and more flashy and impressive, but because they're still tied to the MP system, I feel like there's an opposite trend where you actually use those abilities less and less. You end up rationing and feeling like you don't want to use your magic. But Golden Sun lets you use your magic as much as you want, so I hope players don't always just default to the fight command. With Golden Sun, we wanted to show how fun it could be to play without worrying about things like MP. You restore EP just by walking around, and the summons don't cost EP either. That was the biggest theme for the Golden Sun development, the ability to use your powers freely as you will. That alone is enough, in my opinion, to make Golden Sun totally different from other games. Press button to make flashy animations happen without consequence as much as you want? Hell yes.
Nose laser!
You can also skip most of any summon animation, so I'm just gonna add that to the list of reasons why FF8 sucks. Man, I am really on a roll. For the whole magic system and even plot being based around elements though, I'm kinda surprised this game doesn't have an enemy compendium like Final Fantasy VI does. Especially since monsters aren't aligned with elements. Each one has its own unique level of weakness or resistance to all of the elements. Though, maybe having that information would risk overcomplicating things. You're already focused on figuring out what setups work for what builds you want to make, and even though you can see your own character's resistance levels on the status screen, it's not important enough in gameplay to make builds revolve around it. Now, unless you do become interested in min-maxing and wanting the best setups for certain fights, half the fun in Golden Sun's gameplay is experimenting for yourself with what's going to be the best for your party. The way the game explains Jin and really all of its mechanics is good too, because it doesn't load you with information. It tells you flat out what standby and set means, and leaves text boxes and help screen if you still forget like I do 10 hours in and not realize until then that I could have been using summons if I kept everyone on standby. Damn. But yeah, I'll admit that I still don't know the ins and outs of the system, but it offers a surprising amount of depth and customization that you don't see often, especially in games of this era. See whether or not you like having certain synergy and Jin attacks available, boosting your elemental power and stats, or using powerful summons whilst trading off stat boosts mid-battle. Golden Sun's sense of progression is pretty good too. Money is never really an issue. Sell values aren't worth next to nothing, and just fighting whatever you encounter as you go through the main story will get you a good amount of coins. So you can buy almost all the equipment that you want, and even if you do find another piece out in the world right after, it doesn't feel like a waste. Occasionally getting new synergies from leveling up and from experimenting with Jin at any time helps this too. Always new stuff to experiment with and improve your characters. You'll be switching Jin around anyway to have certain synergy to progress in the game, which transitions nicely into the other mechanic I mentioned, interacting with the environment. I'm going to preface this, perhaps for the sake of a future video, by saying I fucking love Okami! So this mechanic in a little GBA game like this is so cool. And it's also good because it's never confusing. Every synergy that is usable outside of battle has a specific purpose that is usually shown to you, and if not, the elemental-based magic system is logical enough to figure out. Use a whirlwind to move some leaves out of the way, freeze puddles to make ice pillars to hop across. There are so many different ones that you can use. Early on, you even get mind read, and just for this one synergy, I can't imagine how much effort had to be put into it. Speaking of dialogue, there are a few things I gotta address here. I'm not gonna bunch all of the game's flaws here, but I'm definitely not going to pretend like Golden Sun has no flaws. If no one else is going to talk about them, then I will. You'll see that Golden Sun pretty often lets you respond to conversations with yes or no. Hardly any of the choices actually affect anything remotely major. In fact, 99% of them don't matter beyond the next text box. I'm not complaining about that because I don't think every choice in every game needs to be significant. It'd be nice to have some here and there, but not only is it probably not technically feasible in this case, but, you know, this is also a role-playing game. Getting to legitimately roleplay through what say you do have in conversations, even if it is just yes or no, is nice. It probably seems like it should be standard in every RPG, and it's not a mechanic to write home about, but I don't think it should be taken for granted. Plus, it's just funny to fuck with everyone and give flat out wrong or dumb answers. If you say no to saving the world and walk out of the shrine in the beginning of the game in Vale, you actually get a game over! It's actually funny how close I got to this happening without even knowing in my playthrough, just because I was being an ass with the dialogue. But on the other side of that coin, while I just said all of that is nice, the way this game treats Isaac is still odd to me. I'm not sure why this case bothers me out of anything else because silent protagonists are not unusual at all. But yes, Isaac is basically a yes or no vessel, but some of these characters have pre-existing relationships with Isaac. You cannot name anyone except for Isaac. They're all meant to be their own fleshed out characters. Why then do they treat Isaac as if he's the same way, even though he's not? It's even more strange when he just starts talking in the Lost Age, as if things were like that before. He has a perceivable personality. You even get the slightest hint of it by reading the mind of this NPC in the first Golden Sun. And yeah, while I have not played the Lost Age yet, I have seen tidbits around from looking at various posts, and that is a thing in the Lost Age. You can still give silent protagonists a hint of personality while being silent too. Plenty of notable examples out there, and it's almost there for Isaac. Seems like he really enjoys food because the few instances of him speaking in first person in this game come from what he sees peeking into various ovens. I don't know, I might be talking out of my ass. I guess I feel like if you're going to have a silent protagonist, they should preferably work for or benefit your narrative. Otherwise, there's this weird in-between feeling that I'm having only with Isaac. Is he a fleshed out character or not? I can only hope that the Lost Age fixes anything that I thought detracted from Golden Sun. Wow, I haven't even gotten into how this game is still gorgeous even 20 years later. Just watch any battle play out.
Oh, fuck off.
Where do I start? So, a little background on Golden Sun. Camelot was developing an RPG for the N64. At that time, it was just an RPG, it was not Golden Sun as we know it. The basic on-screen visuals, the layout of those visuals, and minor game design details had been drafted up. Rumors arose about new hardware that would of course turn out to be the GBA, so the project was shelved. Camelot instead developed Mario Tennis 64 in the meantime, which had an easier to predict development time. Once the GBA was ready to be developed for, the RPG idea would be shifted over, where it became Golden Sun after much prototyping. Around 12 to 18 months of pure development man-hours, which was a considerable amount of time for a handheld game, and it was much longer if you count all of the early planning and conceptualization. I mention all of this because look at how these sprites are. Definitely not typical hand-drawn pixel-by-pixel sprites. Look at how many colors are in them and how much anti-aliasing there is. No way they could have made any models in that RPG they were working on, right? Well, I guess they decided to do it after all. Golden Sun not only made pre-renders work on the GBA for the character battle sprites, the backgrounds, all the enemies, the overworld sprites, but they also made them extra stylish with how the camera moves in battle to make a pseudo 3D effect. The weapons your party members have equipped will be visible in battle. Y'all, they got particle effects up in this. Seriously, some of these summons and more powerful attacks lag the game a bit. I would go so far as to say it helps make things feel more weighty and impactful. Camelot, where are these renders at for real? Man, I want to see what this game looks like on an actual GBA or even a CRT. And of course that smoothness and vibrance extends to how the rest of the game looks. There is not a tile out of place, and overall it's just charming to look at. I sincerely hope the devs know that all of their efforts paid off immensely. Look at this Mode 7 ass map. Hell yeah! All my homies love JRPGs with Mode 7 maps. I can't not talk about the music either. Even trying this game for the first time and not being super into it, there was one thing that has stuck with me since then. It's honestly a shame that the theme doesn't play for the entirety of the intro, ends almost as soon as it begins, and is only played a couple of other times in the game, also for a very short period. It sets the tone here perfectly and gives you a taste of the uniqueness that Motoi Sakuraba has to offer. Most will know him from his work on Dark Souls, but Sakuraba has been quite the prolific composer for a while now. I swear, every time I check his listed works on his Wikipedia page, I find more new things to add to my backlog. But yeah, Stormy Vale was one of my go-to themes for doing schoolwork when I first found it, and I sure as hell listened to it again working on this video. I'd watch 8-Bit Music Theory's video on Golden Sun's music if you want to know more on a technical level. All I can say is that, like everything else in Golden Sun, it absolutely pushes the GBA to its limits. The GBA is definitely not known for sounding great, but Golden Sun has some of the best sounds you'll find on the system. It's the kind of music that's almost too good for the system it's on. It's so close to bursting out of the fuzzy GBA speakers, but at the same time, the technical limitations are what gave rise to such a fantastic product in the first place. Especially Saturos' battle theme, holy shit, was not expecting Golden Sun to go this hard. I'm going to quickly take this opportunity to say, go listen to Leap the Precipice and A Flicker Which Divides Light and Darkness from Eternal Sonata. I have yet to play it, but I've known about those songs for a while now. It's more of the same good stuff. Sakuraba also did that Dark Pit theme that everyone loves for good reason, and he has his own prog rock stuff on Spotify. Go take a listen, it's genuinely amazing. If you're looking for a good story or fleshed out characters though, Golden Sun is not gonna deliver. Like, I'ma be real, fucking nothing happens until you get to a lighthouse or a place that has a plot-relevant character. And it's a real shame that I honestly don't remember any standout lines of dialogue, character interactions, plot events, locations. There wasn't much about the world that was all that notable for me. Although the world building is definitely still good, don't get me wrong, like, what was probably the most interesting was what they didn't address. These ancient civilizations, Kraden's past, Lemuria, what Felix was doing in the time he was gone, why alchemy was sealed away. Though, I can't go too far into all that since I'm sure it'll be expanded on in the Lost Age. The towns and the people in them though, that was the thing the devs mentioned in the interview that they worked the hardest on, and I'm sorry, it didn't work for me. Although that's all up to personal preference. The game is obviously refined and impressive enough mechanically while still offering traditional RPG goodness, so it's not a complete deal breaker. It just makes the game less significant and memorable to me. And I don't mean that I let the whole game pass me by. Of course, if you asked me, I could give a basic plot summary, talk about certain dungeons in 15 seconds or less. But if nothing character-wise stands out to me, I'm gonna forget most of the events within a handful of months. There's a reason no one typically talks about the story of Golden Sun. I'm going to add 2 more small complaints I have here as well to finish the sandwich in the script. I don't actually know if this is because I'm playing with a PS4 controller joystick and not a D-pad. Using a D-pad for extended periods just bothers my hands, and I play everything with the controller and joystick if I can. But anyway, yeah, interacting with things can be really iffy. Isaac will sometimes face a different direction than what you press for no reason, and it is made even worse by a single button. Don't do this if you're making a game. Don't make the button you use to interact with everything the same button for opening the menu. I got used to it, but it made the game unnecessarily annoying for hours. The menu is already mapped to select. Why in the world is it also mapped to the A button? I'm just trying to talk to people and check boxes and barrels for hidden items and hitting switches, and I don't have reveal yet, please! Damn. I know what I said throughout this video, but I wrote a majority of the script before I had completed the game. There is yet another thing that came up. You know how I said at the beginning that things only went up for Golden Sun? Starts pretty low on the graph, shoots up once you're out of Vale and get your first Djinn. Maybe it starts to plateau a little bit as you approach Endgame, then Endgame fucking plummets back to where it started. Golden Sun's Endgame really sucked. I don't mean for this section to make Golden Sun seem like it's not worth it, it's just what happened to me, and if anything, it's a warning to not make the same mistake I did. Don't run from enemy encounters, and find as many Djinn as you can, even if it means looking up a walkthrough. Especially since traveling around Weyard Endgame, even with shortcuts, is kind of a pain in the ass. Enemies will start doing so much damage endgame that they can 1 or 2 shot you, and you are straight up screwed for the final boss if you are underleveled and lacking Djinn. I didn't want to rely on walkthroughs as much as possible, but it do be like that sometimes. And, you know, obviously walkthroughs are gonna make everything as easy as it can possibly be for you. If you need to grind to beat a certain boss, so be it, who cares? As long as you get it done and you feel fulfilled. Yeah, I beat the game through, outside methods, but it's not a big deal to me. I had been through all the main things the game wanted me to see. I may not have gone into Lunpa or finished Crossbone Isle, but I can promise you I would not have been any more satisfied beating that boss myself than resorting to doing that. It just felt like suddenly any setup or skill I may have had didn't even matter when the rest of the game was not like that. Bobby Lighthouse 2. What the hell is this? This is probably something only I encountered too, but the statue room that opens up the path to even get into the room you need to go into for the Venus Lighthouse afterward, you only need to interact with it once to get into the room, so yeah, easy enough, that's what most people are gonna do. Well, there are a bunch of other lights on the floor, so I interacted with it twice to see what it would do. The only thing it did was force me to go all the way back to the lighthouse just to have the statue give me the right path. And it's not an awful walk back, but still, why do I have to physically walk back there to change a path to a single room? Or maybe it's multiple rooms, I don't know, I don't care. Especially when there's another statue just like it in the Babby Lighthouse, only it tells you to fuck off. Oh god, I had just had enough of Golden Sun at that point. But despite all of that, again, Golden Sun is still a great game. I don't regret playing it, and I am interested in the Lost Age whenever I feel like diving back into the world of Weyard and alchemy again. I'm willing to bet that Golden Sun had a couple of other factors that led to its success, too. Golden Sun released on August 1st, 2001 in Japan, and that same year in North America. This was just 5 months after the GBA's release for both regions, and for a while, it would be one of the only traditional style RPGs on the console. The GBA has loads of RPGs, but many of them are tactical ones. Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Fire Emblem, Advance Wars, Mega Man Battle Network I guess counts? Any other big turn-based RPGs on the GBA like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Breath of Fire, Pokemon, and Final Fantasy of course. Aside from Breath of Fire, they were all released anywhere from 1 to 5 years after Golden Sun. Golden Sun was a brand new turn-based IP right out of the gates for GBA, with a promised sequel no less. Everything was perfectly aligned, and Golden Sun continues to be adored by its fans even now. Not just in the outpouring of support for Isaac and Smash, but fans still want Golden Sun 4. The trailer for the Advance Wars remake had people saying that now maybe Golden Sun has a chance of coming back. And then there's the fan dub.
Have you got everything you need?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you, Isaac. A lost possession can be replaced. A lost life can't.
This is absolutely the culmination of all the love people have for Golden Sun. The closest thing to having their dream of a high-budget Golden Sun show, or just any new Golden Sun content in any capacity. I mean, this is genuinely impressive. I wasn't expecting Golden Sun to have such a bustling community, and I can't imagine the amount of work this took. Making character designs and art and animation that look this good, and get people to voice dialogue for a 30-hour RPG? It's still going, too, with the most recent episode coming out a month ago as of this recording. At least for the sake of the Golden Sun community, I hope Nintendo hears them out and gives Camelot the okay to make a new Golden Sun. If they want to, anyway. It's been almost a decade, things could very well have changed. While I may not love Golden Sun as much as many others do, it's a classic for a reason. Golden Sun is a familiar, traditional RPG experience at its core, while also being innovative and never developed with the mindset that it was just a handheld game. They put in as much as they could, even if it meant dividing Golden Sun into 2 games, with the second game looking more like 2 games in itself, holy shit! And pushed the GBA to its limits in every way possible. If you've always been on the fence or simply put off playing through Golden Sun like I did, it's a 20 to 30 hour game, and though a part of me is still a little baffled at how beloved it is, it has plenty of reason to be. What's up? It's your one and only girl who only makes videos every 1 to 3 months. I'm sorry, I promise, I'm really trying.